I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, honestly. My name's Jake, and I've been with Emily for about 3 years now. We got engaged about 6 months ago, and I was genuinely happy. She's a smart, beautiful woman, at least that's what I thought. We met at work. She's a marketing manager, and I'm an engineer. Things weren't perfect, sure, but I thought we were solid. We had plans, a future, a life, or so I believed. Looking back, there were a few signs I ignored. She'd cancel plans last minute, seem distracted sometimes, but she'd always say she was busy with work or stressed. I didn't push too hard, thinking maybe I was overthinking it. Then came the long hours, her getting more secretive about her phone, and her suddenly saying she needed girl time with her friends more often. I figured, all right, maybe she's just stressed, or she's trying to find herself. It never occurred to me that she was hiding something that would blow my world apart. The real turning point was about a month ago, right before the engagement party. I noticed she was wearing a different perfume, and she flinched when I tried to hug her sometimes. She started lying about where she was going, brushing it off when I asked questions, but I was patient. I thought maybe she's just stressed, maybe she's having a rough time at work. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I kept quiet, hoping it was just paranoia. Then the night of the engagement party finally came. It was supposed to be our big celebration, friends and family gathered, everyone happy. Emily looked stunning, her smile radiant. But even amid the chaos, I caught her texting someone. Her boss, I later found out, more than once that night. Her phone was snuck away in her purse, but I saw her glance at it too many times. I remember feeling uneasy, but I pushed it aside, telling myself I was just paranoid. Later, I found out from a friend that Emily had been acting weird at the party. She'd been texting someone, sneaking away, and she seemed tense when I tried to talk to her. I asked her about it, and she snapped at me, saying I was overreacting, that I was insecure and paranoid. She called me controlling. That's when I started to realize maybe there was more to this than I'd guessed, but I didn't want to believe it yet. Not until I saw definitive proof. Fast forward a few days, and I started noticing more things. Her clothes had a strange scent, like another man's cologne. She was more defensive when I asked questions, and she started avoiding me altogether. I caught her on her phone again late at night, texting someone, her boss, I was sure now, and when I looked over her shoulder, she quickly closed the message. I felt my stomach turn. There was something about the way she was acting, like she was hiding a secret that couldn't be kept anymore. One night, I decided to check her phone when she went to the store. I know it was wrong, but I couldn't help myself. I found explicit texts, things she was saying that no wife should say to her boss, let alone her lover. There were pictures, too. The worst part, she was talking about how hot she thought her boss was, how much she loved the attention, and how she was planning to meet him again soon. That's when I saw it, proof that she had been lying to me all along, sneaking around. Behind my back, the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. She'd been cheating on me for months, and I'd been blind to it because I wanted to believe in us. I felt a mix of betrayal, anger, and deep sadness. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face, look me in the eyes, and tell me everything was fine? I was furious because she'd played me for a fool, but I also hurt because I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. Now I didn't know what to do. The worst part was knowing she was pregnant. She told me last week, claiming she was just a little stressed, but I knew better. She's pregnant with her boss's kid. That's the final nail in the coffin. How do I even process this? How do I move forward when everything I believed in has been shattered? After I found out about the pregnancy, everything inside me shattered even more. I was numb for days. I kept rereading those texts, trying to make sense of it all. The woman I loved, the woman I was planning to marry, had been lying to me. From the start, she'd been screwing her boss, and now she's pregnant with his kid. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face lying, sneering, even like she enjoyed screwing with me. I didn't want to believe it at first. Maybe it was some sick joke, some terrible misunderstanding. But then I remembered how she'd been acting, distant, defensive, sneaking around, her phone almost always in her hand, her eyes darting. That night I looked through her phone, I saw everything. The explicit conversations, how she described how hot her boss was, how she loved the thrill, how she wanted to be with him, and how she'd finally be free from me once the baby arrived. That was the moment I knew I had to confront her. I had enough evidence, and I wasn't going to let her gaslight me anymore. I waited until she came home from work a few days later. I was shaking, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. When she walked through the door, she looked annoyed, probably because I wasn't acting normal, because I'd been staring at her like I was ready to explode. Without even saying a word, I just pulled out her phone and placed it on the table. She froze, her face twisting in that bitchy, defensive way she always did when she was caught. "Care to explain these texts?" I asked bluntly, sliding her phone closer. Her eyes flicked to the screen and her face went pale for a second. She tried to brush it off, saying I was overreacting, that it was just flirtation, that it meant nothing. She told me he was just her boss, that they'd had a moment of weakness, but she loved me and she was sorry. Sorry. Sorry for what? For ruining my life. For lying to me for months while she was screwing her boss behind my back. I lost my temper then. I yelled at her, told her how much I hated her, how I couldn't believe she'd do this to me, to us. She kept crying, calling me crazy, saying I was making a big deal out of nothing, that she loved me and she never wanted to hurt me. But her words sounded hollow. I could see right through her. She was lying again, trying to spin some bullshit about how it was just sex, how she was confused, how she didn't mean for any of this to happen. But I knew better. I knew the truth. She'd been cheating on me for months, and now she's pregnant with another man's baby. I stood there, furious and heartbroken at the same time. I couldn't even speak for a while. I just looked at her, and in that silence I realized I couldn't stay. I felt like I was drowning in betrayal. How could I forgive her? How could I even consider staying with someone who'd lie to my face, cheat on me, and now carry another man's child? I told her to leave. I told her I never wanted to see her again. She tried to argue, to guilt me, but I had already made up my mind. I told her I'd be better off without her lying and cheating, that I deserved someone who wouldn't betray me like this. That night, I sat alone, feeling emptier than I ever had before. I was overwhelmed with rage, sadness, confusion, and something darker, revenge. I was so angry that she'd played me for a fool, that she'd used me, that she was now carrying another man's child. I wanted to do something to make her pay for what she'd done, but I also knew walking away was the only way I could reclaim some dignity. I started thinking about what that meant, how I'd move forward, and whether I could ever trust anyone again. It's not easy to process all this. I keep asking myself if I should fight for us, try to save what's left, or just cut my losses and walk away forever. I still love her, but I hate her at the same time. I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at her the same way again. That's the worst part. The betrayal isn't just about the affair itself. It's about the fact that she lied so convincingly, that she was so good at hiding everything, and now I'm left picking up the pieces. I'm trying to hold on to some semblance of sanity, but honestly, I don't know if I can. The pain is too fresh, too raw, and I keep thinking about all the years I wasted believing in us. Now I just feel like I'm standing at a crossroads, not knowing whether I should fight for a lost cause or walk away from the wreckage. After that night, I knew I had to get some space to clear my head. The house felt like a trap, every corner, every piece of furniture reminding me of her lies. I moved into my parents' place for a few days. I needed to breathe without her sneaking around, without her fake apologies echoing in my mind. Honestly, I spent hours just staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of everything. How someone I loved so deeply could do something so cruel. The hardest part was the emotional roller coaster. One moment I was angry, hell, furious, calling her every name I could think of, wishing she'd just disappear. The next, I'd get hit with this wave of sadness, feeling like I'd lost the person I thought I knew. I kept replaying all our memories, all the good times, trying to find some reason, some justification for her actions. But there was nothing, just betrayal, pure, unfiltered betrayal. And the worst part, the idea that she's carrying another man's child, our child maybe, made my stomach churn. I couldn't even let myself think about that in detail. It was too painful. In the middle of all this chaos, I started to think about what I really wanted. Was there any way to salvage this, to forgive her? Or was I just fooling myself, clinging to some fading hope that she'd change? Honestly, I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. One day I'd be furious and ready to fight, and the next, I'd feel this crushing sense of loss, like I was mourning a life I would never have again. The image of her, so bitchy when she lied, so manipulative, kept flashing in my mind, and I hated her for it. But I also hated myself for loving her still, despite everything. One night I decided I couldn't keep torturing myself. I needed to confront her face to face, get some answers, no matter how painful. I called her, telling her I wanted to meet. I set the meeting at a quiet cafe far from our house where I could really get her to talk. When she arrived, she looked angry, defensive, but also scared. She knew why I wanted to see her. I didn't waste time. I blasted her with questions: how long, how many times, what exactly they did. She kept denying everything, calling me crazy, claiming I was paranoid, that she was just stressed, that her boss was just a mentor, that she never meant to hurt me. But I didn't buy any of it. I told her I'd seen the texts, the pictures, everything, that she'd been lying to my face for months. Her face twisted into this bitchy sneer, and she looked at me like I was the one overreacting. She told me I was being controlling, jealous, insecure, like I was the problem here. She said she loved me, that she'd never cheat if I just trusted her. Trust. After all this, that ship sailed long ago. I knew I couldn't believe anything she said anymore. Not after she'd lied so convincingly, so consistently. The conversation turned into a shouting match. She was throwing accusations at me, saying I was terrible, that I didn't understand her, that I was suffocating her. She kept insisting she'd never loved her boss, that it was just sex, just a moment of weakness, but I knew better. I knew her. I knew she'd fallen hard, and now she was pregnant with someone else's kid. That's when I told her I was done fighting, done trusting, done pretending that this was just some mistake she'd made. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her she needed to leave, that I wanted nothing to do with her anymore. She raged at me, cursing, calling me a fool, saying I was heartless. She tried to guilt me, saying I was throwing away our future, our child, everything we'd built. But I just sat there, cold and numb. I didn't have the words anymore, only this overwhelming sense of betrayal and loss. Watching her walk away that night, knowing what she's done, knowing she's pregnant with some other guy's child, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I wanted to scream, to break things, but I held it all in. That's when I realized that this wasn't just about her cheating, it was about my self-respect. I had to decide what kind of man I wanted to be after all this. Now I'm back at my parents' house, trying to piece my life together. I've been reaching out to a lawyer, trying to understand my options. I don't want to be a pushover. I want to stand up for myself, for whatever dignity I have left. But I also know that forgiving her might not be possible, not after everything. The trust is gone, shattered beyond repair. I keep asking myself whether I should try to fight for us or just accept that it's over. Honestly, I don't know if I can go back to the way things were, even if she begged me. Part of me still hopes I'll find a way to move on, but another little voice keeps whispering that I should fight for justice, for myself, for what's right. It's a mess, and I'm stuck in the middle of it, trying to figure out what the hell comes next. The days that followed that confrontation were some of the darkest I've ever experienced. I felt hollow, like I'd lost a part of myself that I'd never get back. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Those sneering, bitchy expressions she threw at me when she was lying. The way she looked at her phone like she was hiding the world's biggest secret. The rage inside me simmered, but beneath it was a deep, aching sadness that wouldn't go away. I kept replaying all our memories, trying to find some thread of hope, some sign that I was wrong, that maybe she still loved me and this was just some terrible mistake. But deep down, I knew better. I knew the truth was staring me in the face. She had betrayed me, lied to me, and now she was pregnant with someone else's kid. That realization was like a wound that refused to heal. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every moment was filled with this gnawing sense of loss and betrayal. I started questioning everything about myself, what I did wrong, where I went wrong, why I didn't see the signs earlier. Was I blind? Was I just too in love to see that she had been cheating all along? I reached out to a lawyer, trying to understand my rights. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. Divorce, custody, child support, all of it felt overwhelming. I didn't want to lose everything, especially not my dignity. I also was thinking about what I'd say when I finally told my friends or family. Would they blame me? Would they think I should have seen this coming? But mostly I was angry. Angry at her for doing this to me, for playing me for the fool, and angry at myself for trusting her so blindly for so long. One thing I did realize was that I couldn't keep pretending nothing happened. I needed to get out of the house, away from her, and start figuring out who I was without her. I started working out more, hitting the gym hard just to channel some of that rage into something productive. I also started journaling, trying to make sense of everything, pouring out my feelings, my fears, my frustrations. It was messy, raw, but I needed that release. I refused to let her win by breaking me completely, even if I felt like I was barely holding myself together. Meanwhile, she kept trying to contact me, texts, calls, even showing up at my parents' house. She'd cry, scream, try to guilt me into believing she still loved me, that she was sorry, that she'd change. But I wasn't buying it anymore. Every word she said just reminded me of how she'd lied to me for months. I told her to stop bothering me, that I needed space, and that I'd decide what was best for me in my own time. I knew I had to make a decision soon, whether to fight for what was left of us or to walk away entirely. The truth is, I haven't decided what I want to do yet. I know I'm hurt, angry, confused. More than anything, I feel used and discarded. But part of me still hopes there's some way to recover, some miracle that'll make everything okay again. I also know that my self-worth has taken a huge hit. How could the woman I loved, the woman I was going to marry, do this to me? How could she betray everything we had? I think about her, about the child she's carrying, and I feel this terrible mixture of heartbreak and rage. I want to believe that I can forgive her someday, but right now I just don't see how. I've started leaning toward cutting her out of my life completely. No calls, no texts, no trying to understand her lies anymore. I need to focus on myself, on healing. It's not about revenge. I know that's a dangerous road, but about reclaiming my dignity. I don't want to be a man who's constantly looking back, asking what if. I want to move forward even if it means starting from scratch. That's what scares me most, the uncertainty of what comes next. But I also realize I can't stay stuck in this place forever. I have to decide whether to fight for closure or accept that some wounds just don't heal. And honestly, I'm just trying to breathe and figure out which path is the right one for me. I've been living in this fog for weeks now, and honestly, it's a struggle just to get through each day. I wake up feeling like I've been hit by a truck, with that stupid image of her sneering at me, her phone in her hand, replaying over and over. Every time I think I've had enough, I remember the little things, her touch, her smile, the way she used to laugh at my jokes. But then I remember all the lies, all the secret meetings, the texts, the pictures. It's like I have two versions of her fighting inside my head. One is the woman I loved, and the other is this stranger who betrayed me beyond words. I've been trying to get my head straight. I started talking to a counselor just to get some perspective. It's been a roller coaster. Some days I think I can handle this, other days I feel like I'm drowning. My mind keeps circling around the same questions. Should I fight for her? Should I try to save what's left? Or is it better to cut my losses and just walk away? Honestly, I'm tired of the back and forth in my head. Part of me wants to believe that maybe, just maybe, she's genuinely sorry, that she didn't mean to hurt me so badly. But another part screams that she's a liar, a manipulator, and that I should just get as far away from her as possible. One thing I know for sure is that I can't keep living in limbo. I need to make a decision, even if I don't like what that decision might be. I've been talking to some friends, two people I trust, and they've been giving me different advice. Some say I should fight for her, try to work things out, maybe even forgive her if she truly shows remorse. Others say I should just walk away, cut her out like she's poison, and focus on rebuilding myself. It's a mess, and I keep feeling this pressure to choose, to do something, anything. But I also feel paralyzed. I don't want to make the wrong choice. The thing is, I still love her, or at least I did. That's what's killing me the most, how much I loved this woman and how she shattered that love into pieces. I keep asking myself if I'm just holding on to some fantasy of what could be, or if there's really a chance to salvage this. I try to remind myself of all the lies, the cheating, the pregnancy. how she carried another man's child and lied to my face for months. That's not something you just forgive overnight. It's like trying to rebuild a house after it's been burned down. Maybe it's possible, but it's going to take a lot of work, and I'm not sure I have the strength for that anymore. Lately, I've been feeling this strange mix of anger and numbness. When I think about her, I get furious. How could she do this? How could she betray everything we planned? But then, moments later, I feel this crushing emptiness, like I'm emptying out inside. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just pretending to be okay, hiding how much I'm hurting. The truth is, I don't know what the right move is anymore. I don't even know if I want to keep fighting for a woman who's clearly done with me. I've reached a point where I realize I need to do what's best for me. That might mean walking away for good, no matter how much it hurts. It might mean accepting that my trust is gone forever. Or it could mean giving her one last shot, but only if she's willing to genuinely change and prove she cares. Honestly, I'm torn between these options. Right now, I feel like I'm stuck in this limbo, waiting for some sign or miracle to tell me what to do. But deep down, I know I have to make the decision myself, whether to fight for her or to walk away and try to rebuild my life from scratch. Either way, it's going to be a long, painful road. I've finally reached a point where I realize that dwelling on what's done only keeps me stuck. The truth is, I can't undo the lies, the cheating, or the fact that she's carrying another man's child. No matter how much I wish things were different, I have to accept the reality. Walking away feels like the only way to save what's left of my sanity. I've made up my mind. I'm going to leave her behind, cut all ties, and focus on healing myself. It wasn't an easy decision. I wrestled with guilt, anger, and a deep sense of loss. I kept asking myself if I was throwing away the only person I'd ever loved, or if I was finally doing what I should have done from the start. But at some point, I realized staying would only drag me further into a pit of pain and resentment. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, pretending I wasn't crushed inside. I deserved better than that. The truth, painful as it was, set me free in a way I never imagined. I told her it's over. I said I couldn't trust her anymore, that I'd never be able to look her in the eyes again without feeling betrayed. She begged, of course, crying and screaming that she loved me and that she was sorry. But I've heard enough of that kind of talk to know it's just words. Words she's been using to manipulate and guilt me into staying. I didn't want to hear it anymore. I felt nothing but emptiness when I saw her breaking down, knowing she was carrying another man's child, and that she'd lied about everything. The moment I packed my things and walked out that door, I felt a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. Relief because I finally took the step I needed to protect myself. Heartbreak because I was leaving behind the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved. But more than anything, I was tired of being the fool. Tired of feeling like I had no control over my own life. I realized that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes the only way to truly respect yourself is to walk away from the pain and start over. Now I'm focusing on rebuilding my life, taking things day by day, trying to find happiness again. I won't pretend it's easy. There are days I still feel the ache, the anger, and the regret. But I also know I've learned a lot from this nightmare. I've learned that trust is fragile, and sometimes people show you who they really are when it's too late. I've learned that I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect, not lies and betrayal. And I've learned that I am stronger than I ever thought I was. Looking back, I wish I could tell my past self to see the signs sooner, to trust my gut more, and to never ignore those little red flags. But I also recognize that I was blinded by love, something I won't let myself do again. If anyone out there is going through something similar, I want you to know, don't ignore the warnings. Don't let someone tear you apart just because you want to believe in the best in them. Be honest with yourself and never settle for someone who lies to your face. Today, I am choosing to move forward, alone but finally free. I may never understand why she did what she did, but I do know this. I will heal, I will find happiness again, and I will never let anyone make me feel small or unworthy again. The pain will fade, but the lessons I've learned will stay with me forever. And that, in the end, is what matters.